All right, so
we're in the shit now. Go for it.
James, Rick, and I all saw Halloween. If I remember correctly, you are a big Halloween aficionado.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite horror.
Okay, so James, you're doing a lot of the legwork here then, because like I've seen Halloween. I don't think I know it as well as you do, so I'm gonna let you talk about a lot of the stuff. But Rick, go.
I was gonna say, did you revisit it before watching this?
It's a lot to revisit.
I did.
Well, the first one,
the original.
I revisit it every few months, anyways.
Really?
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh.
I watch the series
awesome.
all the time.
Fuck yeah, man.
But
what about that shitty one about the mask? That has nothing to do with Halloween.
It completely rewrote everything, so you didn't need to see anything after Halloween.
After the first Halloween.
After the first one.
Yeah, because that was my question. Like, I wasn't sure if it was sequels were going to be part of it, but they ignored all of them. Yeah, because
even though 2 picks up directly after. Ooh, fuck! I need to see this movie.
Yeah,
I like 2 a lot.
It's a direct
also.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
So why did they just call it Halloween 2?
Because there's already a Halloween 2.
There's already a Halloween.
There's already a Halloween also.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I enjoyed the movie for the most part. I thought it was all right.
Okay.
I don't think I loved it as much as these two. But what I really loved about this film was the score. The score and how they dealt with the music and the scene and how it, like, they mix like both old school and new school filmmaking, if that makes sense to you.
That makes sense to all you basic people.
That
know anything about
bitches
film.
Don't understand anything about filmmaking. I hope this isn't going over your head.
I am an artiste.
No, when I say that, I just say that so you guys, like, I don't sound like an idiot when I say that.
Instead, I'm going to make you guys sound like idiots. Go for it.
No.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anyways.
Post away.
But yeah.
Post away.
That was the best part that I liked, was how they integrated all the music and stuff like that. As far as like the past, like I think they brought, besides Jamie Lee Curtis, I think they brought back the cop, I guess, from the first one.
Yeah, the sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Is it the same actor?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely not familiar. Like I'm not someone that, like, I've watched Halloween movies, but like I couldn't be quizzed. I couldn't be quizzed on that.
I saw the original way too young. It's one of those movies I saw that I probably shouldn't have seen. I think I was like 5 or 6 when I watched the first Halloween, and I was talking to Rick about it because I was asking him about like the score and the music and stuff like that. Like, it's super important to that movie, that first movie. They kind of got away from it later on in the franchise, and it was like the pop culture touchstone, so they used the music for everything. And I was telling Rick that in the original, it wasn't like the way they do jump scares now, where it's like you hear the music or you hear the sound effect and then the scare happens. The scare would happen, she would somehow get away and start running, and then the music would start while he's still standing still, and then start slowly lumbering towards her, and she can never get any ground away. And it's one of those, like, I'm going this fast and he's walking. How the fuck can I not lose him? And it's the music. So even to this day, when I hear that score, I fucking, the hair on my arm stands up and I get goosebumps because it really affected me as a kid. And I'm dying to know, James, if they do it justice in this movie.
Let's ask the biggest fan here.
I have really conflicted thoughts about this film. I will say I fucking loved it.
Okay.
It was badass. It was fun. It was everything a Halloween film should be for modern audiences. However, because they completely rewrote everything, I found myself annoyed every 10 minutes or so. But then, like, cool stuff would happen, and then I'd be okay again. So it was just this, like, back and forth of loving and hating it. But I'm going to go see it again and without any preconceived notions.
Okay.
But I did like it. I do recommend it. It's a great entry to the franchise.
Yeah.
My question for you, because you know more about Halloween, when watching the movie, like, I saw like they highlighted, without saying, it was just camera movements, like certain people and like certain objects.
Like throwbacks?
Yeah.
To the original, yeah.
Were those throwbacks to the originals? Because I didn't know. Because like there's like that dollhouse.
It was chock full of throwbacks.
Okay, yeah. Because I figured you could point those out then.
Even with dialogues, with film, with actual like the way they frame certain things, with some edits, it was all throwbacks to the original.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited to see this fucking movie.
Yeah, because there were some shots in there that just looked incredible.
Yeah.
And
like if you might be able to pull it up, but there's some shots that are like almost
comparison
I
shots.
swear they would be
Ew,
exact,
wow.
but just with different people in them.
Yeah, because like I've seen parts of it, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I know there's the only two things. Like I thought the dollhouse was a part of it, big part of it, and I know the closet scene.
Well, the dollhouse is it represents the original house where Michael killed his sister.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
I was explaining to Rick in the car on the way over here that I hate when this gets lumped in with slasher flicks, because this isn't the original Halloween is not a slasher movie. It is a psychological thriller, like we were talking about. It has the slasher aspects. That's like when you get to it, there it is.
Yeah.
But to get to that, it just fucks with your head so much to get to that. And it's funny because even as a viewer, when it finally gets to the kill scenes, you almost feel relieved that it's finally fucking happening because of the way they build up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird to say that, but you're relieved that a character is getting murdered because you don't want them to go through the torment anymore of this fucking guy coming after them. So I'm so excited to see this movie now.
There's not a lot of that though.
No?
In this one, not a lot of the build up.
Okay.
Because it's modern.
It's modern,
so
right,
the deaths happen much faster, much more without reason.
Okay.
Which works now though.
Right.
We're
In the
kinda
context
used to all
of today, it works.
Yeah.
Well, what I noticed too when like older, well with the kids, like when you got those scenes and jump scares for those scenes, those felt more modern in my opinion. I thought when like with the sheriff or with any other like the older people, I'm guessing were probably a part of it. Like those jump scares weren't like modern jump scares. Like there's that one part where someone walks into or like just jumps out to the sheriff or something like that, and you just hear his voice. You don't hear that boom, that you usually hear when there's a jump scare.
Sound effect.
I noticed that definitely, and but yeah, I noticed like they kind of went back and forth with the modern and the old, without with the sound and without the sound.
Okay.
Rarely without the sound though.
Right.
I think that might have happened 2 or 3 times. Bryce?
I didn't know I was gonna jump to right away. Well, real quick because it was just on my mind. I mean,
It looked like you had something to say.
no, nothing directly.
No,
anything.
Bryce doesn't ever have anything to say.
No, nothing at all. I'm the mute of the show. Nothing directly in response to James or Rick, but I want to real quick shout out to the kid that was being babysat.
Oh
my God, he was incredible.
That kid was
Hysterical.
amazing.
Hysterical.
That kid was amazing, and that was a nice little comic relief segment or part of the movie that didn't feel forced at all. It fit in.
It felt real.
It was it did. It felt real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah,
I did like the movie. I thought it was enjoyable. I did. I liked it a lot. Question though, does a movie like this scare you?
At this point, no.
Yeah, I don't find movies like this scary.
Yeah, I see so much blood and death on my screen that I don't get scared very often.
Right, I think I'm more into the ghost stuff or the possession stuff or La Llorona, which apparently I want to say every 2 seconds on this show. But
see, it's
that's not detracting.
It's the type of scare though. The
Right.
stuff in the La Llorona trailer was suspenseful and built up to something. So when the shit happens,
that was a full scene.
You're like, oh fuck, man! I never thought that. I'm so glad that finally got out of here because it was killing me for it to wait for it. And that's kind of like what I was saying. The original Halloween movie did that. It was a relief of the tension when the kill finally happened.
No, and I totally agree with that, and that happens in this movie a lot too. You kind of all right, I don't want to call it predictable, but when someone's all right, this person's gonna die, just when's it gonna happen, And I'm not taking away from the movie at all, but it's
the creativity on how they.
It's almost God, it's almost just kind of like the world we live in. I'm just not afraid of a mass murderer. In real life, I guess I suppose if I'm in that situation, I would be, and I'm not trying to take away from you saying oh, this isn't really a slasher film,
Well,
like,
I bet this one is. The original to me is not.
I just don't know that I find something like that. Like, I think something for me that's more the unknown is scary. You know what I mean? Mike had to take a pee break for anyone that isn't watching this show. Do you guys get what I'm saying? And like, it's not taken away from it because like I'm not necessarily going to this movie to get scared. Like I like that it's supposed to be that way,
right?
You know, it's supposed to be kind of like that sort of theme. But this isn't a movie that's going to keep me up at night. And
of course,
you being somebody that kind of was on the fence with like horror movies and scary movies, I'm assuming you probably would agree with that. Like I don't think this scares you in the same way like if you actually saw it or The Conjuring.
No, it didn't really.
Yeah.
Really scare me. Yeah, it didn't.
I mean, do you agree with that? And I think it's kind of sad because I do feel like it's like the world we live in. Like you turn on the news and it's all this bullshit.
So desensitized.
You're completely desensitized to stuff like this that it's hard for me to get afraid of someone wearing a scary mask killing people.
I think some of the best parts are the suspense before the kill we know is going to happen, but it's the creativity on how they get to that part. And I think that's the more scarier part, you know, because they're trying to escape, but you don't know how they're going to escape and when they're going to escape. It's like Ryan Connolly, you said it on the show many times. It's like that bow and arrow effect. Like, it's getting pulled. When is that release going to happen?
Right.
You know, and that the pulling, you know, like that. It's like tension.
Yeah.
To play off that though, like shoot, I lost my thought. Kind of. So I guess what would scare, no, I don't know if scare is the right word, but what I think about when I watch a movie like this is kind of spoilers, I suppose, if you want to put that up there, if you want to put up the spoiler tag, but like...
All right, hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah,
actually
throw it up
spoiler
there.
tag. So, spoiler alert.
Like the moments, and I'll try to be nice to you.
See what I mean by the heavy lifting? Look at that shit.
I'll try to be nice.
I don't, dude, no.
Yeah, but
I'm
like,
not going to see this in
I'm
theaters.
not going to say
watch
a lot.
this in my own home.
Yeah.
It's going to be on cable or Redbox or whatever.
Right.
Like, I'm not a big fan of watching horror movies in theaters unless it's with, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after they've come out and it's empty and it's with a group of my friends. Mm-hmm. So I completely ignore that and watch it at home when it comes out that way anyway. So go ahead.
So for me, I think the kind of stuff in a movie like this that gets my heart pumping, and makes me think about things that are going on are the moments like when they're at Laurie Strode's house. Laurie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
at
Laurie
the
or
end?
Laura. Yeah, like when they're there and you know that he's there, and it's like this kind of game of like, well, where is he? You know what I mean?
Move that over there so
like,
he doesn't get in the shot again.
Like I think about that stuff. Like I try to place myself in that scenario of like, well, I'm in this house and I'm trying, like, I'm hiding in that spot and I'm listening for sounds, trying to figure out, like, that gets me excited. Like, that gets my blood pumping a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's what a movie like this does for me. Maybe I'll sit here and say, like, oh, well, Michael Myers himself doesn't freak me out. But the idea of being chased, I guess, and trying to hide and putting myself in the shoes of those people, that's crazy. Like, that's kind of, that trips me out to think about. That's what a movie like this does for me. And that's what gets me going with this style of movie. You guys agree with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think
like,
so.
As I'm watching it, like while I was in the theater, I was sitting there like putting myself in that scenario. I'm like, oh man, like what would I be like in that situation? Like I could sit here as a member of the audience and say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this. But it's like a whole different ballgame when you're in the shit.
Would I run upstairs like the blonde girl with the big boobs, or would I head out the front door like the smart person that never does? Right? That's the thing about horror movies that's so awesome is you can either immediately identify with a character or immediately go, this character is stupid. Why would you do that? Like, it's the total cliche of yelling at the theater screen of like, bitch, don't go upstairs. He's gonna get, like, it's that. It's that.
What?
Turn off spoilers?
You can turn it off.
And that's the fun part about horror movies, because I think horror movies are still super interactive with their audience. As gory as they get and as kill happy as they get and as over the top as they get, I think it might be the last genre of movie that's still super interactive with its audience. because you can immediately look at it and go, I would or wouldn't do that. Or this is what I would do in that situation. The only other type of movie that really isn't made that much today is mysteries that you can interact with passively. But horror movies are still being made. 6 or 8, 10 of them a year come out.
Yeah.
And there's good ones and there's really terrible ones. And then there's some that are right in the middle. But even the really terrible ones, like fucking Jeepers Creepers from 20 years ago, you can look at that and still interact with it passively.
Hold on.
I hate Jeepers Creepers. I'm sorry. I do
Is
not.
that the one with Justin?
No way.
Is that the one with Justin Long?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No
like that
way.
one too.
That was fantastic.
I wouldn't say fantastic, but I liked it.
I don't like Jeepers Creepers.
I
Don't
thought
be
it
a
was
fence
fun.
rider. Commit or no or don't.
No, I loved it a lot.
I know, but
It was like
Okay, I
I
will
had
say
nothing going in too. I
there's
had no
worse movies of that era than that, but that's the one that always pops up in my head.
290 episodes into this show, haven't seen it. I'm bringing it back. That's something that I would say often. There's movies that I haven't seen.
I'm not a fan of that one. Fucking
I'm with you on
The
that
Hills
one.
Have Eyes remake. I'm not a fan of.
I haven't
either.
seen that one.
Like there's so
Oh, I like The
I
Hills Have
apologize,
Eyes.
James. I should have said The
I
Hills
like
Have
The Hills
Eyes.
Have Eyes. I know, I like that one though. But I haven't seen the original, so I can't say.
But they're all interactive.
Yeah.
You always walk out and you'll always have a different story and a different take. And
I do miss a good mystery movie.
Me too.
I mean,
man.
fucking Clue.
Yeah.
I still love Clue to
Or
this day.
fucking Murder by Death, the spoof of that is even better.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, Bad Times at El Royale is out.
Yes, I need to go see that.
Yeah, I'm definitely
And that's definitely a mystery.
I'm definitely interested in that. But to play off kind of what I was saying, which I already think you guys got it, but like
Yes.
the rush that I would get from a movie like this is like the same kind of rush that you'd get from like a really, and I'm not talking about a bullshit game, like a good fucking game as a kid of hide and go seek.
Yeah, it's the anticipation and the build up.
And me and my cousins, like, we would. So my family was in the trash business, and so there'd be like a big Christmas party at the end of the year that would take place at the yard, as we called it. And so we would go play.
Did you stomp the yard?
Yeah, we did. We were stomping the yard looking for a place to hide, basically, you know. We played it because, you know, we were fucking cool, you know. We didn't play hide and go seek, we played ditch 'em. That's what we fucking played. And so, like, all the trash trucks are parked there. All the storage containers are stacked, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 high. And so the whole fucking yard was fair game. And so we're climbing up the storage containers. We're walking in between them and stuff. And, like, even though it's, like, a huge-ass playing field, just that excitement or that suspense that you feel, like, going through all that stuff, it was amazing. And that's what I get out of movies like this. You know, like, we'd go inside, like, we'd check to see if any of the trucks were unlocked. We'd unlock them. That's where I discovered my first porno magazines, just FYI. But, you know,
You're getting into that territory.
I'm getting into that territory.
Lost episodes again.
Well, not quite, but I'm just saying that's where that happened. But, like, that's what I get out of stuff like this.
Right.
You know, like, that kind of rush. And I like that. That's a different, for me, that's a different emotion than a straight up, like, oh, this fucking freaks me out.
Yep.
It gets me hyped in a good way. For me, it gets the adrenaline pumping.
It's why I'm a huge fan of psychological thrillers
Yeah.
and suspenseful scares and not the jump stuff. That's the feeling you get.
Right. So for anyone that wants that kind of feeling, I recommend this, you know, like, but I mean, I suppose people that aren't, like, we all of us, I think, like horror stuff. So, I mean, some people might find this scary. Maybe they do. I don't know.
James, I didn't know you were such a horror aficionado.
I didn't know you were such a horror, James. Fuck.
There's a movie that I love, and I know Bryce loves it, and Rick hasn't seen it, called See No Evil, that came out like in 2003. Have you seen that?
Oh, with the WWE star?
Yes.
Kane, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that.
Did
It was
you
a long
like
time
that?
ago.
Yeah, did you like it?
Oh, I think it was fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of a throwback, right?
I was a huge fan of it because it was a throwback to things like this, where like even the angles they used were like throwbacks. But yeah, like I'm sure I could get Rick to watch it now, but like when that movie came out, it was completely different than every horror movie that was coming out. It was almost a suspenseful take on a horror movie again, and a throwback to old school slasher flicks like this, which is what I really liked about it. So I'm glad you've seen that, and I'm glad you were on the upper side of that, because I know a lot of people don't like it specifically because there's a wrestler in it, but like that's the reason why a lot of people don't like it.
What's that?
I think he was testing light. No, go.
But I really do think that it's a really awesome modern take on a movie like this, and I think that, or like the original Halloween, or even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and even the original Friday the 13th movies were more suspenseful movies that later on got into the gory, kilt porn stuff. And I think there's a way to do suspenseful horror movies now that could engage the audience. It's harder to get into it because everybody wants the scares per minute and the deaths per minute. And I really do think that it's time to re-educate the audience and start over again.
Well, that's what James Wan is doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that stuff is happening.
Yeah.
It's becoming a theme on this show for the last couple of years, where you or I will say, I'm so glad this genre of movie is coming back because it's been sorely missed. And I really want a suspenseful psychological horror movie genre to start to really flourish again. And I feel like, James Wan is he's on the forefront of that. And so I'm really excited about seeing this and La Llorona and other movies like that.
One, to keep harping on it, The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know what it is, but
you would think Bryce was getting paid.
I think he was getting paid.
They paid me to come on this podcast, promote the show, because apparently I'm bigger than any
Did
advertiser.
the Sabrina check come in the mail yet?
It hasn't come yet.
Jesus
I'll start talking
Christ.
about that next week, but
Hey, Netflix.
there's just something about that show where the whole time it consistently has a tone. Maybe you aren't getting a scare per minute, like you said, but they play on things that where I was talking about hide and seek, that I feel get your blood pumping a little bit. You put yourself in that scenario, oh man, I understand that. I can remember being a kid and hearing that noise and being oh fuck, what is that? I don't know what that is. Mom, Dad, come help me. I don't get it. They play on a lot of these things, and they do it in such a good way where even in parts that aren't supposed to be scary, I feel you're always on the edge of your seat. And so that's why I can't. I'm sorry. Netflix gave me $1 million.
I wish.
Come
Netflix
on
would give me
here
$1 million.
and promote that show. But you guys, that show, it needs to be fucking watched. It has to be watched. It's so good. It's so good.